Motion.
Recording in progress.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, please stand for the national pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, starting out this evening, we're going to have a couple presentations. First one is of the Elementary Comprehensive School Education Plan.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura O'Brien. I am the principal of Eric Road Elementary, and I will be presenting tonight with all of my colleagues, Liz Carreri, the principal of Tuscarora Elementary, Jen Goliath, our Assistant Director of Curriculum Instruction and Technology Services, Marissa Vuich, who is the principal of Colonial Village, and Theron Wong, principal of West Street. So we are so excited to share all the good work that we and all our staff and kids are doing. So our plan, we're going to present our Elementary Comprehensive School Educational Plan, which we refer to as CSEP. And I just introduced everybody. We provided you with a purple folder, and on one side is our actual CSEP plan for all of elementary. It's common among all of the buildings. We've done some minor tweaks specific to the culture of our buildings. And on the other side is a copy of the PowerPoint. So our first goal that Liz and I are going to speak to is goal 1. And it states that the district will continue to cultivate a safe, healthy, and supportive environment. And our first objective under that goal is to educate, to empower students, staff, and visitors to create and maintain a safe environment and ensure their own and each other's safety. So some things that we've already begun working on and will be working on are listed below. One of the things that we focused on in the beginning of the year was Aaron's Law, and North Point Council was a fantastic resource. They came in and did a staff presentation on personal safety, safe touch, preventing child sexual abuse. They also are presenting to each class, doing small, intimate, small group or class-wide lessons, and that is a 16-week course. So they come for about a half hour every other week. We also are working with the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. They will be providing a presentation to our staff, as well as grade level wide assemblies. We may have to get creative and do that virtually if we can't get everybody safely together. That group will also do an information night for parents on internet safety. We're hoping that will be sometime in either December or February. Also, we have at Colonial Village, the Institute on Trauma and Trauma-Informed Care. And they have a trauma-informed toolbox for staff and parent sessions. Also, the 2 other objectives are to provide a safe and inviting facilities for our students, staff, and the community. We each have buildings, our safety teams in our buildings, so we have building level, and that is basically driven by our district safety team. So the building teams meet 3 times a year. Our district team meets 4 times a year. We practice and debrief on our safety drills, evacuation drills, lockouts, lockdowns, shelter in place. Also, this year we did our fire safety week. Some of us did a little bit more virtually, but there is a picture there for a truck that did come. And then lastly, we've been collaborating with local law enforcement and first responders to implement best practices. We've done some safety drill training. Brandon Hall, our SRO, is coming in and meeting with individual classrooms to talk about safety and so that they get to be familiar with him and the uniform. We're going to be doing our active shooter drill hopefully in March, and we'll be doing some tabletop scenarios very soon, I think next month, at the district level, and then we'll be turnkeying that down at our individual buildings.
Okay, I'm so happy to be here tonight. This is just near and dear to my heart because social, emotional, mental health is so essential to everyone, especially our children, and physical wellness. So Nora already pointed out, we do have North Point Council with us. I brought a few notes because each of the areas are just doing such a fabulous job in our building. So North Point navigates through these difficult times. They develop lessons to provide tools to help, and they make for health and safety. They're addressing mental health and well-being for all members of our community. And it's so important for teachers, parents, students as well. The presenters in Tuscarora School and in all buildings come in to each classroom. Again, it's small group learning, K through 5 in other buildings and 6th grade at Tuscarora School. And they have very engaging lessons. They also provide resources to all families. We also continue to have DARE at Colonial Village, West Street, and Tuscarora. So we thank the Lewiston Police Department for coming in for that program. It really helps with an awareness of healthy habits. So we're super excited about that. We have clubs and intramurals in all 4 buildings, and on the agenda tonight for board approval, you'll see some of the clubs. There's some new clubs. There are intramurals in all 4 buildings, again, to promote health and wellness for our children. You'll see a picture of Tuscarora Art Club, which allows the students to express themselves, and that's an after-school club that they enjoy. Kara Kirk is here. She's going to talk a little bit more about the Family Support Center. So thank you, Kara, for all you're doing. She's our liaison who provides various services, referrals, and linkage for all district families to help with everything from food and shelter and mental health services. And Kara met with all 4 principals, well, I think all principals in the district, visited buildings and helped me especially with McKinney-Vento families. So we're so fortunate to have Kara. Again, the Community Health Center of Niagara is a partnership established with Colonial Village through Family Support Center, providing resources to the community. And it's a work in progress, but hopefully a mobile dental and medical unit will come soon to help students and families. We have the Lions Club, always helping with vision and glasses to help our students. Feed More Western New York, something Colonial Village and Tuscarora partnered with. They have over 300 pantries, soup kitchens, emergency shelters, and other hunger relief agencies. And they're working right now with Colonial Village, providing a backpack for kids program every Friday. Children bring home a backpack filled with food to help them through the weekend. And Tuscarora School is getting on board with that. We're meeting, we have to find a space, and then we'll have the food to do that on Fridays. We have clothing closets. The collection is distributed to all schools. In addition to clothing, we have hygiene items, laundry detergents, and then a different product each month, which is great. Gateway Longview is an outside mental health counseling. Right now it's 2 days a week at Colonial Village, and it's expanding across the district. De-escalation training for staff was done by Jeff Hess and Tom Stack, providing social emotional cool down strategies, breathing strategies, and tools to stay proactive. And back to clubs and intramurals, I plan to continue with yoga and Tuscarora School, and then hopefully virtual for all of the other buildings. So then the next slide, we have promote and support environment where all students feel valued. So in this slide, you'll see Joanne Weinholz. Opening days for new teachers and faculty meetings at Tuscarora School were hosted by Joanne. She's a retired culture teacher from Tuscarora School. She provided a wealth of information and resources on Indigenous Peoples Day and Thanksgiving in order to stress the importance of knowing the facts and gathering resources to plan and teach to our children in all buildings. And I just want to focus on the boarding school, which was a highlight of Joanne, and you saw that in the first picture, the orange shirt day. So I highly recommend everyone watch Unseen Tears on Amazon Prime Video. It's the documentary that tells about the impact of the Thomas Indian School and Mohawk Institute. Survivors speak of traumatic separation from their families, abuse, and systematic assault on their language and culture. Communities are presently attempting to heal wounds and break the cycle of intergenerational trauma resulting from the boarding school experience. Many families on the Tuscarora Nation have grandparents who were in residential boarding schools. National Orange Shirt Day was on September 30th. It was first established as an observance in 2013 as part of an effort to promote awareness and education of the residential school system and the impact it had on Indigenous communities for over a century. So in addition to that, during our opening days of September, we offer training from the National Federation of Just Communities. All staff learned about equity and equality, and the ingredients of the program are for individuals to learn about themselves and one another, to develop awareness and understand critical issues of prejudice, discrimination, and bias. So next is Jen.
Good evening, everyone. The next goal we're going to present is goal number 2. The district will provide learning experiences that accelerate academic, social, emotional, and physical student learning.
So the first objective that Thayer and I are going to talk about is at its heart about alignment. Alignment to the standards, alignment vertically, and alignment across the 4 elementary buildings. So the first component of that is to have a common scope and sequence that's K to 5. And the scope and sequences that we listed this year are those that New York State has just gone and changed the standards for, and those standards are going to be implemented either next year or the year after. So we've been working on updating those maps, and as you update the maps and you learn new things, and you have to plan for professional development around that as well. So those are the areas that we're focusing on. The next item on the list is a focus team to create a scope and sequence for foundational skills for grades 3 through 5. So when we talk about foundational skills, we're talking about decoding, we're talking about spelling, vocabulary, grammar, those kinds of things. The interesting thing about the new standards is when they wrote that, they say starting in 3rd grade, kids need to start here, and they need to end it doing this in 5th grade. So it's not really broken down very specifically per grade level. So that's why we formed the team. So the team is really looking at the standards. Sometimes the difference between 3rd grade and 4th grade is just one word. Trying to figure out what should we teach in 3rd grade? What do we need to teach in 4th grade? And what do we need to teach in 5th grade? And at the same time as that we're doing that, we're looking at the research to see what is the best way to teach spelling? What is the best way to teach vocabulary? So we're looking at that. And once we've done that, then we're going to go and we're going to write the scope and sequence. And then we'll see other resources or training that teachers need. And then we'll make a recommendation on that. So that team has started to meet. We've met one time. We're meeting after school, and we're going to be meeting again at the end of November. Also, this year, we have a plan for providing professional development for the reading units of study. As you know, we've presented every year. We've been rolling out a new grade level. Starting in kindergarten, they were doing reading units of study, and the next year we rolled out to 1st grade. Now that cohort of students is up in 4th grade. So 4th grade is the new year for reading units of study. And we're providing professional development to the 4th grade teachers. We gave them some time over the summer, and I was able to meet with them. We've designated some faculty meeting time for them. And then if we need to, we're ongoing and meeting with the teachers so that we can implement that in 4th grade. We also have professional development for new teachers. And this is exciting because we have 26 new positions in the elementary level. And Theron's going to talk a little bit more in a minute about exactly what those positions are. But we have new teachers, and we've had a lot of things going on that we've presented over the last 5 years. A lot of professional development that we've given to teachers that we need to really catch our teachers up on. So we had 2 days of induction. Typically we have 1 day of induction, but we had 2 this year where we were able to incorporate some of those things in. Jeff and I have been meeting with the new teachers, as we always do every year, doing our growth mindset book study. But then in addition to that, I've been offering sessions or planning sessions for the teachers after school that they can come and learn some things about Zern, which is one of our math programs that we have. Learning how to do a Fontes and Pinnell assessment, how to do report cards and actually enter those in, how to conduct parent-teacher conferences. So then we have some things that we can break apart that we normally would do and have an hour at a time. And then there's other times that we have to catch them up on some math PD and things. So we have a plan for that. And it is exciting to have 26 new teachers working with us. So we're going to invest some time and some energy into them so that they're successful here. And then the last thing on the list is a long-term plan for sustainability of program components, which Jeff and I are working on, because we've been rolling out and purchasing new programs and things. And we finally rolled out Amplify science programs to all the grades. Now there's looking at things going, okay, every 2 years, you have to replace the kits, the actual things that the students work with. And so we don't want to replace all grades at the same time. So things like that are going to be in the plan, is how do we spread that out so it's not all hitting us at the same time? Did we lose the mic?
I think you're fine. Just keep.
Okay. So that's what we're talking about in that last bullet. Oh, yep. And before we move over, Farron wants to talk about the picture.
So I just wanted to share the significance of this picture. As Jen spoke to, we've worked through our implementation of our reading workshop. This is a picture of a 4th grade classroom, Mrs. Devontier. When they get these books for this program, they're strategically picked books that are at the 4th grade level of all different genres, X, Y, and Z. But she came in on a Saturday and Sunday and took them out because it takes time and created a book unveiling. So I came in to cut the red tape and she took it off, and you should have seen the kids, whoa, you know, so she could have just put those books on the shelf, but that was cool. All right. So I just wanted to share that.
Right. So the next objective that Farron and I are going to talk about is essentially about assessment. How do we have so many different kinds of assessment data that we collect. How do we use that data that we have in the classroom? How do we use it at the school level? And then how do we use it as the district level? So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is DDI. And I apologize that we just put DDI up there, but it's data-driven instruction. And it's really, we give the students a benchmark assessment, and then we look to see how the students are doing. And then the teacher will make a plan or adjustment to how they're going to adjust their teaching for the results that the kids did on that first assessment. And we've been doing that for grades 3 through 5 for several years now. It's really nice because we figured out a way to institutionalize that, because before we would give teachers release time to work on that, which is kind of hard with the subs. So now the principals have devoted some of the faculty meeting time that we have to be able to work on DDI for that. So that's up and running for grades 3 through 5. But our goal for this year is to add in K through 2. So Marissa and I already met with the kindergarten team, the 1st grade team, and the 2nd grade team to try and talk about how that would look. And we're going to be continuing, we're going to meet with them again in December. And we're going to continue to plan that so that DDI will be in place for kindergarten through 2nd grade the following school year.
Coming into the school year, obviously, one of the things that we were thinking the most about was we've got kids that, you know, possibly were virtual, kids that missed time due to sicknesses, things of that nature. So the struggle was, we've got these kids coming back. How do we make sure we catch them up as fast as we can? So that's been our goal. And to our credit, we weren't as bad off, in my opinion, as other places because of us being in school last year. So where other people are scrambling, where it was a different model, you know, we've also stepped back and say, our kids are actually doing pretty good, but where aren't they doing well that we can put those resources? So that's what the summer was about. And I mean, I'm very proud of what we've done here, just to jump around, but it was looking at the data, it was determining which classes might have, you know, for example, my 2nd to 3rd grade cohort had a tremendous amount of kids out that stayed home for learning, and they're coming back now. So we were able to put a teacher in that grade level strategically to lower that class size to a perfect spot. That also happened in 2nd grade at CV, where their 1st grade population needed support. Okay, so that's why that resource was put there. There's been some additional literacy specialists across the district. When we've presented a need, it wasn't you're getting one, it's show it, prove it, and let's discuss it. And those conversations were very robust, and we worked together on that. You're also going to see ER has a 15-1 program now. So that's a new program that is very successful. We've got a speech therapist. Additionally, we have some more counseling and social work throughout the district to target those schools that really need it. All right. Back up to RTI, child study, those types of things. Those systems luckily are sturdy and in place, but we're always looking to make them better. So at my building, we're doing a program called RISE, where 2nd and 3rd grade is meeting with the reading teachers. And after 15 weeks, I've actually read with the kids yesterday, some of them, they're doing very well. They're gonna go back to the regular program because they won't need that intervention, right? Accelerating them, moving them quickly. So we feel like we're doing very well.
And also, it's not just the addition of new positions, it's the kind of reallocating, as Theron said, to focus area. For example, at grade 2 at CV, one of the things that Marissa has done is have all her reading teachers push into 2nd grade, knowing that there was a need there. So the reading teachers are actually working in the classroom, and thus the kids are not getting pulled out to miss anything. They're in there and they're working together side by side. They can have more groups and things like that. So we're really using the data across the district to drive where we're targeting resources.
The next objective says revise and continue to implement multi-tiered systems of support to prescriptively meet individual students' needs. Okay, response intervention, AIS, child study. So we already kind of talked about that. The real main point of this slide is to just discuss the summer school that we had. That was pretty neat to have kids coming back that weren't with us during the regular year, that the parents finally felt comfortable. All right, so this was a cross-district model, and we had 130 kids, but keep in mind, those were the kids that needed to be there. We targeted those seats to those that needed the seats. So it wasn't just whoever wants to come. You had to have an invitation. That was a wonderful program. All right. I've always been one that believes, to me, summer's kind of lonely and boring without the kids. My secretary likes it. She says it's quiet and we kind of like it, but I tell her, no, the kids are coming this summer. But anyway, it was a wonderful program. And the 3 of us rotated through, so we shared responsibility. So one day, it was Nora, one day it was Marissa, and it was just excellent. And I hope, we can continue to do this, because I think summer programming has a chance to just boost kids. 2 months off, they can lose a lot when it comes to those years. And what was neat is on Fridays, we had a math and a literacy position that met with the teachers, looked at the data, and helped write lessons to meet the needs on the spot, which was really neat. And when they weren't doing that, they were pulling small groups daily and then doing things. So, I mean, we've done a lot here, and we hope we're going to get, excellent results, because we've been very strategic about this. I think that's it for us.
Good evening, everybody. In case you forgot, this was a long time ago when Nora introduced me. I'm Marissa Buich, I'm the principal at Colonial Village, and I'm going to talk with you this evening about goal number 3, which is the district will continue to increase engagement in the school community, which is something that is interesting to me, especially right now, because we've all been through a lot in our school community over the last 19 months. And I think that we've actually learned more about each other. I think that families have learned more about what goes on in schools. And I think that schools have learned much more about what families need from us in order for us to partner and ensure that our students are successful, which you wouldn't really necessarily think, right? Because there are a lot of physical boundaries and boundaries that are kind of been put in place for health and safety, but it's actually done, I think, quite the opposite, which is amazing. Our first objective is to monitor data to ensure student attendance and implement interventions to re-engage students in school. So we shared with you a lot of the amazing things that we spent a lot of time working on and planning for our students. We want them here. We have the opportunity to have them all back, and we want them all here every single day. We know that doesn't happen consistently. We get sick, adults get sick, kids get sick, but when it becomes a chronic issue, our students don't have access to all of the amazing services that we want them to have access to. They don't have access to the learning that is so integral for their future success. And in light of the fact that we've been
out of school over those last 19 months, some because they chose virtual, some just for that period of time that we were closed, we really need to ensure that there's a continuity of learning for them. So what we're continuing to do is review student attendance data regularly at our buildings. We identify students who are showing patterns of chronic absence, and that's where we get into those issues with lack of learning and gaps. We're reaching out to families, phone calls, home visits. We're working with our counselors and closely with our school nurse. We're contacting the Family Support Center if we think that there are additional issues that might need some sort of resolution. We're trying to identify if there are any barriers that families are facing or that, challenges that they're going through that we can probably support in order to get our kids back into school. And then we're giving them those interventions and strategies. So this year, it's hard when you're looking at attendance during a worldwide pandemic, but I think it's coming from a place of not accountability and why aren't you here, and more so, how can we help support you, and how can we get your child back into school, and how can we make this meaningful for them? And I think that it's exciting for us to have those conversations with families. And I also think that it's helped to develop a deeper connection between home and school, which is what we always want. The second objective that we're working on is to provide meaningful opportunities for families and the community members to engage in our school community. So there's two pictures up there. The first one is from a Halloween parade at Eric Road. And the bottom is from last year's turkey trot at CV. We still want our students to have all the things. We want them to have all the fun. We want them to have all of the opportunities. We want our parents to still be actively engaged in conversations with us about learning and how to, enrich their students' experience when they're in our buildings. And we do that in a variety of ways. So district, Jen, and actually Kara as well are presenting virtual parent information nights for our families. Information comes home, it gets sent out, and parents have the opportunity to attend when it's convenient for them. We're holding in-person and virtual parent group meetings. So 2 of our buildings, the parent-teacher groups have decided that it's more meaningful and easier for them to participate virtually. And in those 2 buildings at CV and Eric Road, we've seen much greater turnout, much greater involvement. Families find it a lot easier to participate in a meeting and focus their attention on what we're trying to accomplish at school when they're home. They don't have to find childcare. Transportation is not a barrier. If they're in between work and home, they can tune in their car. And it's been amazing to be able to meet people where they're at and accomplish so much with them. At West Street in Tuscarora, their families find it much more meaningful to be in person, and they found a way to safely do that and engage their school communities. So we're really kind of looking at what we've learned about our school communities, and using that to make sure that we're maximizing our engagement. We were able this year to hold open house in person, which was amazing. Our students were so happy to be able to physically come into the schools with their families and introduce, meet their teachers for the first time. Parents felt much more comfortable turning their children over to somebody who they had the opportunity to meet and talk to, into a classroom that they had the ability to see, because last year that opportunity was not available. We had to do those virtually. So we were very excited to be able to offer that this year. We still offer getting ready for kindergarten night. And the 2 pictures up there are virtual access to school events. So the top one is the Halloween parade at Eric Road, which they were able to video and share in all of the Google Classrooms for families to watch. And the turkey trot was streamed live last year for each classroom via a Google Meet or a Zoom meeting. So we want to make sure that we're using what we know about our schools communities to engage families in a way that's meaningful for them. And we're going to continue to flexibly reach out and make sure that we continue to partner with home. Thank you so much. Did anybody have any questions for us?
I just think you're doing a fabulous job. Yes, I think you're doing a fabulous job. I know the circumstances that we have between the last few years have been pretty difficult for everybody. The results I see personally, I definitely see that we are in the right direction and we are doing a fabulous job. And for that, I'd like to thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to echo those comments. It's difficult for us as board members to really comprehend the time, effort, everything you do to put this all together.
to make it easy for us. The board, the district is very fortunate to have leaders like all of you and staff, whoever's involved. And I want to sincerely thank all of you for what you are doing for the district and the students. And I want to just thank you.
Okay, I just want to add, again, all the same comments that came across. I'm glad to hear the summer program was so successful that we could get those students in there and get them back up and where they need to be academically and probably socially as well. I know there were some breakouts and activities that get the kids back in the swing of things. It's good to hear to mention that we have reached out to the school communities. Communities have come back to us, and we've taken a different look at education with the pandemic of what we can offer and what the families can offer us. So again, great presentation and thank you all. All right, next up is a presentation on Family Support Center.
Well, it's a true honor to be here this evening to present on the Family Support Center to you this evening. And it's a great honor to have Kara Kirk joining me, who is our Family Support Center developer. Just a couple of quick items about the Family Support Center and the idea and the premise of it. Again, just really focusing on the district's goal of social and emotional wellness of students and growth of our overall school community certainly prompted the entire idea, and building and deepening and strengthening partnerships that are already existent, but building new ones so that our families in the district can reap the rewards of some of the linkages that Ms. Kirk's going to talk to you about this evening. And on Kara, I couldn't think of a better person to lead our Family Support Center. Kara and I have a long history with each other, working with each other in districts in her time at BOCES, and she has done a tremendous job literally putting this together. The amount of time, the enormous effort, and all of the hours of building partnerships for the betterment of our district is greatly appreciated. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Kara. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. Good evening to everyone. I'm excited to be here tonight. I want to thank the board, Mr. Lamanich and Mr. Staff for their support of this initiative. It's a wonderful undertaking for our entire district, and I'm really excited to be the one that gets to help develop it. So thank you. I do want to give a special thank as well. Thank you to Marissa Vuich from Colonial Village, because she did an outstanding job with establishing partnerships with many agencies that we are now expanding to other buildings. So I'm really happy and excited to kind of take the torch from her and kind of move on. So thank you for all the work that you did and the needs that you saw in our district. So I'm going to give you a little overview of what the Family Support Center is and what we do and what we've been up to the first 10 weeks. So quickly, it's a partnership between families, schools, and community-based agencies. So we want to make the systems easier for families to access. We want to assist them in navigating the maze of services, so that it's not so overwhelming and so scary to get the help that you need when you need it. So the Family Support Center is located at West Street School in the district offices. It operates on a school calendar with flexible hours available. So if a family does need assistance in the evening, needs a phone call, a consultation, needs to meet with someone, we can arrange for those things to happen. So overall, we're hoping to strengthen our families, make them feel more comfortable accessing the things that they need and making things simpler, frankly, for families so that they can get what they need when they need it. A little bit about myself, actually, quickly. This is my 25th year of being a social worker, which sometimes I can't believe, but I know that it's the career for me. I've never regretted my decision to become a social worker, and it's something I'm really passionate about and still enjoy 25 years later, which I think is a good sign. I moved here from Syracuse in 1995 to attend graduate school at University of Buffalo and have never left. My husband and I live in Niagara County and raised our family here in Niagara County. We have 2 boys, one in college and one in high school, and we love this county, and I'm really excited to work for a district that's in Niagara County. So again, thank you for the opportunity. This is my 3rd year with the district. I spent 17 years with Orleans Niagara BOCES and 5 years prior to that at Wyndham Lawn Home in Lockport. So I wanted to show you that, in Western New York, there are a lot of family support centers, but they are mostly in Erie County. So you can see that many of the suburban districts, as well as the city district, has family support centers, but in our county,
North Tonawanda and Niagara Wheatfield are the only districts right now with an actual family support center. The one in North Tonawanda is actually a part-time position that's shared with a school counselor. So I think we have a really unique opportunity to kind of be a leader in our county with establishing this model and this idea of kind of a one-stop shopping resource for our families. All of the centers in Erie County are very unique. Some are actual brick and mortar spaces that only operate as family support center with full-time staff, 1 to 3 staff. Some are a virtual system where they're just someone's office and is using a phone to make referral and linkage. Some are shared positions with social workers and counselors. So they're really a little bit different depending on the needs of that particular district. So what have I been doing? Lots of publicity and creating things in the first 10 weeks. Dan, if you're able to hit that link for me there in the first bullet, that would be great. I'd just like to show you the website that's available right now on our district page, as well as every school page and the counseling pages as well. It explains what the Family Support Center is, but what I'd like to point out is the red tabs on the left. If you ever have time to look at them, I encourage you to do that. I've created a library that I continue to add to on a variety of topics, from anxiety and ADHD to bullying and grief and counseling, transportation, anything we think our families could use. And by clicking on those links, you can find a little library of topics and local agencies and resources to help you. So that's a work in progress that I continue to add to every week as new things come across my desk or new topics are available for our families. Other things that I've been doing are just getting the word out really in the first 10 weeks. I've been to lots of faculty meetings. I've done things online. We've had as much information as we can put on our Facebook pages and the live news feed, the newsletters that go out, videos were created, emails were sent. So students at the secondary level, brochures were sent home with every single elementary student. Our registration packet for new students now contains information about the Family Support Center, and brochures are scattered throughout the district and easy to find places as well. So just continuing to get the word out so that families know where we are and what we can offer them. And that's something that we'll continue to work on throughout the year. I did attend some of the open houses at the secondary level, invited some of our partner agencies in so they could provide services and meet families. We are currently just awaiting for the final approval to expand our partnership with Gateway Longview to provide a therapist in the middle school 1 day a week and the high school 1 day a week as well. It is quite an arduous project to go through county and state Office of Mental Health approval. So we are just waiting for that final approval, but the space is there and the students are there, and it's going to be a great opportunity for our kids to gain some much needed therapy and prevent the need for transportation. We can remove that barrier. We can provide a safe, private place for kids to get what the services that they need, and hopefully on a more consistent basis as well, since it will be right there in the school. So we're looking forward to doing that. My long-term goal is to have several agencies that will be providing services in all of our buildings so that families have choice. They have opportunities to get the services that they need and to also provide things at the Family Support Center itself, so families can access services in the evening as well if they want to do that. Other things I've been doing, I've met with many agencies over the past 10 weeks in person and virtually. Every week I'm meeting with a variety of agencies to gain information about what they offer, what they do, where their services are, who is eligible, to make sure I have the most up-to-date information for our families, to make sure I have personal contacts with those agencies so that I can feel confident and safe about referring our families to these particular agencies. There's a brief listing up there of the agencies that are currently providing great services. That most of the agencies want to come into our schools, they're excited to come into our schools, and they know that they've got a lot of work to do to help our kids strengthen themselves after the long time that we've had dealing with the pandemic. So we've got a lot of good partnerships rolling. I've been helping out a lot at the high school, dealing with kids who are facing suspensions for various issues. We've had a lot of vaping going on, and we're trying to provide some resources for those families. We've created different packets and information and quit kits for students that are struggling with quitting vaping and really trying to give them opportunities to improve their health and well-being. We've also provided opportunities for families to access counseling in attempts to reduce their suspensions, so we can bring them back hopefully a little bit stronger and healthier into our school building. Another thing I've been working on is creating a variety of training opportunities for not only staff, but for families and for students. So For example, we have some agencies that are coming into the high school in December and January into various classes that the teachers have shown interest. They're coming in to prevent on different topics from social media to vaping to stress to mindfulness. So they'll be coming in and continue that throughout the year. At the middle school, we've created monthly assemblies where different agencies are going to come in and speak to each grade level about a various topic. We're also creating a parent academy, a virtual academy, where we can offer some supports and resources to families virtually every month during the day and the evening. So hopefully they can find a time that works for them to just get the information out about what their kids are up to. At the elementary level, you know, our kids know way more about social media than any of the adults do, and we need to make sure parents know what their kids are up to and how to help keep them safe and how to educate themselves about what kids are doing. At the middle and high school, parents need to know what vaping is all about, what it's really doing to our kids' bodies and their brains, and what are in some of those vapes, and they need to educate themselves as things change very rapidly. I've been receiving referrals. The majority of my referrals so far have come from the high school, but I've had some from every building in the district so far. Usually those referrals involve me contacting families, doing an assessment, figuring out how I can best help them, and then following them through the process. So rather than just giving them a phone number, I actually walk them through the choices of the agencies they would have. I follow up in emails and phone calls. I explain what you actually say when you call, how to make that happen, and then I follow up to make sure they've actually been linked with an agency and are pleased with their services, and help them if they're unsuccessful with that. I also meet with families and staff as requested to provide consultation, to meet with a parent who's in crisis, and to offer whatever support and services that we can. We've provided some basic need items to families that are new to our district or McKinney-Vento students as well. So that's something that I can provide. I'm working with our Teachers Association in the district for our Caring Closet initiative that was referred to earlier, but that's a free hygiene product system for all of our families to take advantage of, and that has been stocked completely by donations from local businesses and agencies and staff within our district. So that's something we're proud of, and we continue to furbish and keep that going for our families as well. I'm also working with the high school and middle school and with Feed More of Western New York to start a food pantry that should be starting before Christmas. It'll be located in the high school, and middle schoolers and high schools and their families will have access to food to be able to help them through some tough times. So some really good stuff going on. Some things that I'm currently involved with that just strengthens our partnerships in the area. I'm a member of something called the Western New York Family Support Coalition. It meets monthly. We just met this morning, and it's made up of family support coordinators from all over Erie County. And it's a wealth of information for me and a great resource for me. I'm part of our district equity and education committee. I'm part of our union social justice committee. I'm chairing the sunshine committee for the union as well. I've been a longtime member of the Niagara Orleans Counselors Association. It's made up of high school counselors from both Niagara and Orleans counties and meets monthly for professional development. I'm a member of the Western New York School Social Workers Association, again for networking and professional development. I also participated for years on something called the Aurora House Intake Committee. Aurora House is a community residence in Lockport for emotionally disturbed youth and teenagers. It is run by Community Missions, and every month we have a large intake committee that reviews intakes to determine if a child is appropriate for that particular residence. But it's also a great way for me to keep networking and to kind of keep my hand on the pulse of what's going on in the mental health system for kids. And at the middle school, this is my third year of being the advisor for the National Junior Honor Society. So that's like a little overview of who I am and what I've been doing. And again, I really appreciate everyone's support and interest in this project, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have for me. How fast was that? Did I do good? All right, excellent. Any questions or comments from anyone?
How do you feel the engagement with the community?
The engagement. Parents that I talk to, even if they're in crisis or stressed at the beginning of the conversation, feel much calmer at the end because they feel like someone's listening to them and that they've got a little direction. I think that's the scariest part for a parent, is to feel I have no idea where to go. You know, I'm in over my head and I'm a little nervous and I don't know what to say or do. And so it's very calming, I think, to get some help. The engagement from local agencies, as I mentioned, has been great because they want to come in. A lot of the agencies are securing different grant funding and different opportunities to be creative with their funds so they can come out into the schools. So really the biggest challenge for most agencies, just like every business in the area, is finding good employees and keeping them. Everyone's a little strapped right now, but they're doing a great job with stretching their resources and doing what they can to help schools. Anyone
Yeah,
else?
just have a quick one.
Yes.
The carrying closet, you said you're fully stocked and everything. Is there a link on your site that if someone chose to donate, whether product or monetary?
Sure, that's a great question. It's actually through our NWTA, the Teachers Association. So there's not a current link on the Family Support Center website. However, I'm sure we can partner together to do that. We're getting ready to advertise or offer these services to parents. So far, it's been available to students and counselors or teachers who identify those kids, but we have such a strong supply and turnout that we really want to make it available now to parents. We'll be advertising directly to parents to come in, call us, contact us, and we can send things home, drop them off, whatever they need. We want to make it private, confidential, when you need things like that. But sometimes that's a great icebreaker for us too, to say, listen, I know you're new to our district. We want to welcome you. I've got all these goodies, I want to share with you, kind of giving them to students or kids that are, especially at the high school level, between homes or moving around. Sometimes those things are expensive. It's expensive to buy shampoo and those things that you might need, laundry detergent. So it's been great. So I will look into that though, to make sure that district members have an opportunity to donate if they'd like to, because we love donations. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say, can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to thank Kara for her work in putting this together. I think through COVID, there's basically a big deal with mental illness and different disorders that are kind of coming to light. Through the pandemic, it's almost an epidemic of trouble that a lot of the kids are going through, and I think it's important work that Kara is doing here.
Thank you. Thanks for your support.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on the agenda, any resident comments? Okay. Moving on to consensus agenda items. Call for a motion to approve the following consensus items 1 through 8.
Actually, can we separate number 2?
Hold on 1 second here. I'll go. Yep, there was a first and a second, and then Jason, I'm sorry, go ahead. You were asking to,
Yeah, I was looking to separate number 2,
Jason wanted to separate number 2.
the approval of the district comprehensive improvement plan.
Okay. We have to go back to a motion to accept agenda items 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item 2, where are we at here with that?
Discussion.
Discussion on item 2.
Yeah, I had spoken earlier with Dan. I was just looking for more information on the professional development regarding diversity from the National Federation of Just Communities. I was just looking for more details before approving that aspect.
What page is that located on?
It's page 4. So I would make a motion that we just table it until maybe the next meeting.
Is he asking for a motion to table number 2?
Yes, Jason was asking for a motion to table number 2 for discussion. Unless you wanted me to share information on the National Federation of Just Communities today.
I would like to know what here's that, what this is all about. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna turn this down. Give me a second so I don't get that echo. Okay, can everybody hear me clearly? Okay. So the National Federation of Just Communities was brought in this year. It's an organization that I've worked with in the past, probably about a decade ago, maybe more. They work on making sure that this was for staff, that staff understand and have an understanding of all of the different groups that are in their communities. And they work with staff to have really good dialogue about the different groups who exist within a school community. And having been part of that in small group before with the National Federation of Just Communities, it seemed very appropriate for us and for our district. I know that we had really good feedback about the one-on-one session. They will, the plan would be for them to come in and do additional professional development. It's kind of a 102 or 202, I don't know what they call it, but the follow-up. I know Mr. Stack was also involved with that. I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
At this time, I don't have anything to add, except for what the superintendent had already mentioned. There would be a continual process though of a 102, a 201, and a 202 over the next year and a half.
So I'm just saying this group comes in and teaches staff, not students.
That is correct.
Do they focus on, you said professional development, is there any parts of it that, I mean, that's a pretty big area.
Sure. No, it's all about all groups. It's about, diversity. It's about, you have working with students who have disabilities, working with students from, different financial backgrounds, working with people from different races, working with LGBTQA+ community, working with all of those students. And how do you work with, understand all of those groups?
The big word, public session, critical race theory. I guess what I have to ask, is this a prelude to that? Is that what they're coming in for? Or is this something different?
Not at all.
Yeah, I guess my concern was just this.
The National Federation of Just Communities has been around for a long time. They're not a uptick of, something that was created because of critical race theory that people talk about. No, not at all.
Yeah, I guess my concern is that they use a lot of this similar buzzwords. And I was just looking to have further details, possibly even
Sorry,
an
Jason,
outline.
hold on.
Oop.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, part of my concern is just a cursory glance of their website. They use a lot of the similar buzz terms and nomenclature of, things with similar in line with CRT. And I was just looking to maybe get more details of the actual course and maybe outlines or goals of the course. That's, I guess, more than just 40,000 foot assessment of it. If you had any more deeper details to take a peek at.
Yeah, and I don't. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me turn it down here. Normally, with professional development in the district, we would share you that view for you, Jason. We're not providing agendas for professional development and exactly what they're coming in here to do. That's just not the norm. Is what I would say. But I'll certainly leave it up to the board if they want to table the item, of course.
Yeah, I mean, if they submitted PowerPoint or any sort of
Jason,
notes like that.
Jason, are you asking to table it so you can get more information about this subject?
That's what I was hoping for. So I just had a conversation with Dan this afternoon.
Yeah, let me ask you this. How does it change whatever schedule you have on your head with this by tabling it? Does it change it or delay it?
Only that, it's a plan that we submit to New York State. So everybody understands the DSIP plan is actually a plan that, if you remember a couple of years ago, Colonial Village, due to two things. One was achievement scores, well, the second, and not growth. One was achievement scores. The second was student attendance. Ended up as a school in need of improvement because that designation, the district also received the same designation. So what we're responsible to do is turn a plan in to discuss how we're dealing with many things, including, social emotional trainings for students, for staff, And this is one of the things that we're doing. So this is part of a plan that we're sharing with New York State.
So I guess I would ask, this plan's already in place, ready to go to the state. I mean, how would you even look to alter it? I mean, it's a professional development that's already in place, correct?
Correct. It's professional development that I've
Right.
worked on creating for our staff. That's not the question. I think the question from Jason, because that's up to me and you know, the district admin. But the question is about it being included in the plan itself, I think is what Jason's asking.
Is there any further discussion, board members?
Well, look, it don't matter to me whether we vote on it tonight or we table it. The only thing I'm gonna go in correlation with what we did earlier with those texts on that other issue, given other board members the time to address it, and we tabled an issue for 17. If we did that because we needed more time, if one board member feels we need more time, then maybe we should give him an opportunity to get that time. I don't think it's gonna change anything in 2 weeks, and I haven't heard from Dan if it was going to delay anything that he wants to accomplish, because I sure don't want to do that. And that's all I'm saying.
So my question is, Dan, what do you feel on this? I mean, where are we at with this? I mean, is it something that's been going on and it's pretty much standard what we're doing, or is something that's come out of the clear blue that all of a sudden we're doing something else?
No, there's a number of districts who have used the same organization over the years. Again, it's not a new organization. I think it's a really positive thing for staff. I think the discussions that happened with our staff were very positive. So I think the question, you know, Jason's question is, you know, does this go in the DSIP plan, excuse me. So if the desire is to pull it off and table it, and we can share the website for the National Federation of Just Communities with you, I can do that.
So Jason, what is your concern?
Yeah, just looking to get more details on what's actually a part of that training. I know like nationwide, there's conversation that there's a lot more involved than some might think, and being unfamiliar with it, not even being on, I know Dan has his equity committee.
What specifically are you talking?
I'm just looking for more details of what that training actually entails before I would feel comfortable approving it. I know that they use that training already in the beginning of the year, and I assume somebody would have maybe PowerPoint slides or outlines that they might be able to share. So I mean, I would appreciate time to be able to review those things before voting on that.
Well, at this point, any other further discussion on this item?
I'd be more than happy to share with the board, you know, some of the PowerPoint work that was done on the PD side, the opening days, if requested.
Okay.
And I would just like to, you know, say furthering the partnership with them would allow some opportunity for our students, especially anti-bullying programs. You know, work on social justice as well as community involvement, you know, providing the leadership series and so on and so forth. So that's why we were kind of starting the partnership with the staff first, and then, you know, provide further programming for our students inside of the schools, you know, in subsequent years.
I just want to be very careful with what that we make sure that the board lines and the superintendent lines aren't crossing over here when it comes to whose responsibility it is to provide professional development for our staff. And I'm really concerned that it's a line that is being crossed. So we've talked here, and we had a recent training with NISBA as to what the expectations are of the Board of Education and what your oversight and expectations are. And quite frankly, I think, and this has zero to do with the National Federation of Just Communities, an organization that I've worked with before. But I think it's a concern that I have with a bigger topic and a larger topic, and that is making sure that we're fulfilling our obligations and not crossing over lines that are the other individuals' work. But certainly, it sounds like there's an interest in tabling it. We can do
I'm
that.
not interested in tabling.
Okay.
So let's get to the fun. I'm not interested in tabling.
I'm not, I have to ask you, since you brought something up. Crossing the line, I'm not doing it. I'm not saying you insinuate that, but I'm not doing it.
Right.
Okay, I asked you if there was gonna be any delay that would cause any concerns.
Yeah.
Okay, the reason why I said I would vote on it tonight or table it. The reason why I said I didn't have a problem tabling it, if a board member wanted some more information. That was the reason. I'm not trying to cross no lines. I understand you are the recommending us. I just want to make sure, because I'm not sure. exactly
No,
where you were
absolutely,
going at.
absolutely. I wasn't talking that at you at all. Not at all. That was actually what Mr. Stack mentioned, that we would, he'd be happy to share PowerPoints. My feeling is that getting into that level of detail, I don't think is appropriate.
Mhm. Okay, so we need to make a movement on this item here.
Motion accepted.
I have a motion to accept consensus agenda item number 2. Second? Second by Mr. Lee. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Carries.
Well, you could, hold on, we didn't hear Jason, and abstention too. That's a
Okay.
possibility, so I don't know what. Jason, I'm sorry, go, I couldn't hear you.
I voted nay at this point. Due to the request for more information, I don't feel comfortable approving it.
Was that it? Okay. Moving on to item F, personnel items. I'll now call for motion to approve personnel report items 1 through 34.
Make a motion.
Second.
Any items to be separated? Okay, all those in favor of approving items of the personnel report?
So moved.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Standing committees, capital project committee.
Yep. I guess I'll talk about it a little bit. We're having a meeting on the 29th of November. We are still looking for a representative from the community if possible. We did get all the information on what we want to look at and address and see which ones we want to go forward on. So it'll be a pretty good in-depth meeting when it comes up to on the 29th to review what we had in front of us. So the 29th, it's at 4
to 5:30.
4 to 5:30.
Are you looking for a parent member or community member?
One more community member,
One more community?
parent, community, yeah.
We're still looking for one for each, right? Dan?
Yes, if I could for the next one.
Mhm.
Or we're also looking for one more member for policy. And I shared the names, I shared the last 2 names, one for policy, one for capital project with Steve. I just need the one, I think I already shared back for capital project. He needs to say yes to the one from policy. tell me, and then if that's the case, we'll need one more for each.
I have a feeling the name that I gave might back out.
Okay,
I'm gonna find out.
okay, okay. Let me know, would you, just so I know
Yes,
if we're,
I will.
thank you, thank you.
Okay, policy committee was scheduled for this evening, but it has been rescheduled. I don't have the date.
Then the next meeting.
Next meeting,
Yeah,
okay,
so-
17th will be
correct.
the next policy committee, so we will move forward with that. The written communication fundraiser is there for informational purposes. 4 items there. And moving on to our ex officio student member report. We have for us tonight, Anna, anything?
Oh, can you, I'm sorry, hold on, could you pass the mic so we get,
Yeah,
thank
the
you.
full effect.
I'm really appreciative of Mrs. Kirk's position in running training and stuff like that, because that's been a really big issue for the past couple of weeks in the high school. So I'm glad that that's being addressed. National Honor Society has also started doing after-school tutoring with all of National Honor Society students. So that's very beneficial for those who need it. Our music department, we have our chorus concert, band concert within next week, the first one probably in a year and a half. That's actually been some sort of normalcy, and fall sports are wrapping up and winter sports are starting. So, and a lot of our sports teams have gone very far this year. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay. President's report, our president has another engagement this evening. And it's another one of our board members, so I will pass on the president's report and move on to the superintendent's report.
Great, thank you. First, I want to thank, we had about 30 volunteers this past Saturday for the Eco Campus Revitalization Project. The rain missed, they were misting the entire time, but we're raining for part of it, but it didn't stop the hardy volunteers. We were able to put millings down on the path, which will certainly help those who are walking, especially when it's wet. And we also did some work up front in the beds and did some cleanup. So in the spring is when we tend to do our plantings. So we'll be doing that in this coming spring. We'll have many more activities coming up. Again, this is, we do it twice a year, and it keeps going. It's very exciting. And thanks to all the volunteers. We'll be sending out thank you letters as well to all of them. This Saturday is the Wall and Hall induction ceremony. Okay, it will be here at the high school. Doors open at 9:30. 10:30 is the ceremony itself. The luncheon to follow. The ceremony is open to everyone. If you can't come in person, but you'd like to join online, you can actually see it virtually. We're going to be live streaming it as well. And that actually went up, the link for that went up today under live feed. Okay. On Friday, I will be traveling, and so will Allison, to Salmon River School District to will be presenting there on the inequitable funding for Native schools on Native lands. It'll be our 3rd press conference. We've certainly garnered a great deal of support, but we really need the governor to put this in the executive budget. So we're continuing to push. Project committee, the Board of Education week, we mentioned at our last meeting, we're going to celebrate that on the 17th. Pulled pork sandwiches for everyone that night, so that'll be fun. The transportation department, we're still looking for drivers. We're always looking for drivers. We actually had our first situation this year in our district where we had at the high school level and middle school level, where we had to have a bus come back to get kids because we couldn't get them all in the first run, in the first wave home. A lot of districts have been experiencing that this year. It was our first. And Because we don't have the drivers, and we get a few sick, so we continue to push for more drivers. We're being incredibly creative. We're looking for any of our staff who are able and willing and to drive, to pick up a run whenever needed. So again, I think those who have, especially our facilities department, who many of the individuals in that department who also have their CDL will jump in and drive all the time. And that means it pushes the other work. They work after hours to get that stuff done. So thank you to all of them for consistently doing that for us, but we're still looking for drivers. And last but not least, food service. We will be providing free breakfast and lunch until the end of the year. Board members, in your board reports, you saw some of the numbers. Just to, we talked last year about the small number of people that we're providing breakfast for at the middle school. And at the last count, we were providing about 588 breakfasts at our middle school. So what we're doing is working with a little waste, and we're very happy about that. Any questions for me?
Questions? Okay, moving on. Any reports to the board? Items for board discussion? Old business? Oh, my old business is new business. I do have one item I would like to add for the November 17th agenda. Is discussion for the board members on chapter 417, which deals with virtual and hybrid meetings. I'd like to take that up as a topic of discussion at the next meeting. Any question? Do we need a motion on there? Just add
No,
it?
you just have to just mention it to this meeting.
Okay.
For the next one.
Anybody else? Any other new business for 17th? Okay. Any public comments? Any board member comments?
I'd just like to thank the board, Dan and the board for fortunate night I had 4 virtual meetings and I bounced in and out, so I appreciate the patience. Thank you.
One thing I did want to add, I know that Annie discussed fall sports did very well. We had some teams that went a good distance. Great fall season. Winter season quickly approaching next week. Just know, and I know from my dealings with the Niagara Frontier League, that there will be some guidance coming out for spectators and athletes as far as COVID goes. Nothing has been released officially, but there is discussion on what that may look like. So I guess be prepared. I don't know if it will not be the same as last year. That's all I was told.
And could I just add, you mentioned the fall sports, both of you. The girls volleyball is Friday finals.
Correct.
Against Sweet Home.
Yep.
Girls volleyball.
John, when you say it won't be the same, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It may be more restrictive in some instances. But nothing has officially come up, but there has been discussion. And remember, the Niagara Frontier League plays schools from Erie County, where some of the guidelines are different than Niagara County. So there may be some changes for our teams going to Erie County schools versus Niagara County, depending what everyone agrees to. So
in their district.
Yeah.
If you travel there.
Correct. Same as it is for any state competition, wherever the state venue is the guidance of that locale. So it's not gone yet. So, all right. Look for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion.
Second. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we are done for this evening. Thank you for everybody, our presenters as well.
Thank you.